Good morning. Welcome to this meeting of the Oklahoma Aerospace and Aeronautics Commission, March 12th, 2025. The meeting notice was posted according to the requirements of the Open Meeting Act. The meeting will come to order. Call roll, please.
First Congressional District Commissioner Secretary Seth Phillips.
Here.
Second Congressional District Commissioner Vice Chairman Kevin Potter. Third Congressional District Commissioner Charles Ortega.
Here.
Fourth Congressional District Commissioner Lindy Ritz.
Here.
Fifth Congressional District Commissioner Chairman Blake Rainey.
Here.
At-large Commissioner Jim Putnam. At-large Commissioner Jerry Hunter.
Here.
We have a quorum. The draft of the minutes of the January 22nd, 2025 Commission meeting has been sent to you, and a copy is in your meeting packet. Are there any corrections to the minutes before we consider them for approval? If there are no corrections, I will accept motions to approve the minutes. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Any discussion? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega.
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz.
Aye.
Chairman Rainey.
Aye.
Commissioner Hunter.
Aye.
Motion passes. First up is item 4, introduction of new staff. Director, you're recognized.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Hope everyone's enjoying themselves on this fine Wednesday morning. I have before you today a new engineer. So as you know, we couple of years ago now, Kelly retired, and we brought in Katie as a second engineer to go alongside Ben. And Ben, at the end of last year, moved on to just outside of Chicago, where his wife was teaching, and filled that second engineering slot with Scott Garland, who comes to us from this building that we are in right now, the Department of Transportation, but has a heavy geotechnical background, just like Katie and Ben and others have had in our agency. And so we are certainly welcoming him to the crew. And I know he has hit the ground running. He's been out at a lot of airports. We keep telling him that, airports are just like highways. It's just don't do curved runways. Everything's straight in aviation. So anyway, Scott, why don't you come on up and say a few things.
Thanks for the introduction, Director Arties. As you mentioned, my name is Scott Garland. I worked for the past 15, 16 years doing geotech work. I have about 7 or 8 years in the private sector and another 7 or 8 years here at Oklahoma DOT, where I manage the geotech branch. So I hope I can continue to use my skills to help maintain and improve transportation, but through airports. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. He's got a little bit of an interesting educational background. He went to the University of Texas, Arlington, but then OU. So I don't know where his loyalties lie, but well, hopefully it's the last thing that he went to, which was University of Oklahoma. So anyways, welcome, Scott, and I'll certainly stand for any questions you may have.
Questions? Thank you, Grayson. Welcome to the team, Scott. Next, we have item 5, staff longevity recognition. Director Arties, please continue.
It's kind of amazing that here we are doing some longevity recognitions for some of the team. It seems like they were just a new hire a handful of years ago, but wanted to recognize Michelle Bozeiden for her 10 years of loyal and dedicated service to the state of Oklahoma. She is the I think third longest tenured staffer at the agency, behind myself and Sandra Shelton. So Michelle, why don't you come up, say a few things, and then we got a picture moment here.
Thank you, Grayson. I just want to thank everybody for the opportunities that I've had. It's been a whirlwind the last 10 years. Lots of changes, lots of advancement, and I'm excited to be a part of it. So thank you.
Can we move this? Yeah, I think we might try and move this. I think you tilt it forward. Michelle, you in the middle. And I guess, can I speak from back here so we don't have to move it again? The cameras may be off, but that's okay. You know, Michelle is a great example of someone that came into the agency in one job and is currently doing a completely different job than what she was originally hired to do. It goes to show you that, you know, many of our team has flexibility and capability to change their roles and responsibilities in a team member that's really willing to go the extra mile to do whatever the agency asks of her. The next gentleman that we're going to recognize, while it's wild to think it's only been 5 years, I've known Nick longer than that, but only 5 years at the agency. But in that 5 years, he has come a long way. He started off as a program manager and worked his way up to now division manager and leading the charge for all of our great airport successes throughout the state of Oklahoma. So, Nick, congratulations on 5 years, and why don't you come up and say a few words.
Well, thank you, Director, and thank you, Commissioners. It's been a pleasure to serve everybody here and the entire state of Oklahoma for the past 5 years. Some days it feels like 6 months, and others, usually it just feels like it's only been, a couple years. So time flies when you're having fun, and especially when you have the best team in state government. So it's a pleasure to work on furthering the state airport system to be the best that it possibly can be. And honestly, working with everybody at the agency has made it all worth it. Never once had a regret, regardless of the caseload or how much we expand the ACP each year. But that just goes to show that we have the right people in the right roles doing the right thing. So thank you for the opportunity.
It's, other duties as assigned.
Nick,
All right,
Michelle, congratulations. Next is item 6, legislative, congressional, and regulatory update. Grayson, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are in the midst, as Commissioner Ortega knows, the state legislative session. We made it through gate number 1 of the first round of committee, and with a new speaker, new pro tem, there's obviously a new way of doing business. We got an extra week of committee work added. Usually it's only a 4-week committee opportunity that first go around, but we got 5 weeks. Of course, the House implemented a new oversight committee structure, which caused many bills, actually all bills, I guess, on the House side to go through an extra layer of scrutiny, which certainly added to the some interesting facts. In fact, I heard Speaker Hilbert talk yesterday at a Select Oklahoma event, and he said, it's certainly provided an opportunity for lobbyists to guarantee some extra work, extra opportunities to kill bills if that's the thing that you're doing is on defense. But no, we had a good 5 weeks. The legislative tracking sheet, I think, was handed out to each one of you, and I know it was emailed to you yesterday. Not all of our bills made it through. I had Certainly, some struggles with some of the new tax incentives that we have described. Obviously, given the budgetary situation that the state appropriators are in currently, flat budgets. Rev and Tax was a very difficult committee, obviously, as they should be, based on making sure that any tax incentives are scrutinized to the nth degree. We did get the engineer tax credit extension across the finish line, both in the House and the Senate. On the committee side, the CMMC tax incentive and the simulator tax incentive did not make it through. So unfortunately, those bills will be laid over to next year. The ACP, putting the ACP in statute, that bill has made its way through the committee process on the Senate side. Our UAS AAM bills have made it through the process, both on the House and Senate side. And so we are efforting and moving forward as we speak. Obviously, now we're going into floor work in the House of Origin. So we're doing that for the next, this week, next week, and the week after. So essentially 3 weeks of floor work to get the bills off the floor. And then obviously from there, we will go in exchange chambers, House bills being heard in the Senate, and then Senate bills being heard in the House. And so I think there's been a lot of education out there, getting to know the new members, a lot of freshman lawmakers, both on the Senate and the House side. And so I know Sandra and I have been running around like crazy. I think I see Commissioner Ortega up there every day, and sometimes twice a day, just making sure that the aerospace, aviation, defense industries are known amongst the new members. And obviously still going back to returning our existing relationships and the members that know us, making sure they are still in the support arena for the aviation, aerospace, and defense segment of the state of Oklahoma. So with that being said, we're looking forward to continuing the state legislative session. Budget, I think, is still a conversation that's going to be going on for many weeks and months until we get to the end of session. Moving into the federal government, or the congressional sphere, obviously I think we've all seen the news of how President Trump is going very fast. 52 days today? I can't remember what the actual day number is. I saw a news story, I think it was yesterday, it was 50, so I think that makes today 51 or 52. Anyway, lots of activity, lots of action. I know, as an example, Secretary of Transportation visited the Monroney Center just last week. I know there's been concerns about reductions in staff at the FAA Monroney Center and obviously the Department of Defense, particularly the Tinker Air Force Base. And so we are currently watching those and seeing what happens with any kind of reductions in staff. I know many individuals have taken the fork in the road. And so making sure that if there is an unfortunate involuntary or non-voluntary reduction in staff, that those individuals can find employment elsewhere in the state of Oklahoma within the aerospace and defense industry. So looking at that, obviously at the end of this week, we run out of appropriations for a chunk of the government. And so I know the House and the Senate and the President are all negotiating right now, trying to get a continuation of funding across the hurdle by midnight on Friday. A clean CR throughout the end of the year is a discussion topic. Passing the full appropriations package is a discussion topic, or passing a short-term CR, continuing resolution, to get the House and the Senate some more time to negotiate the final faction through the end of the year. I think all three options are on the table. The House has passed out their version of a clean CR throughout the end of the year. We'll see if the Senate is able to find 60 votes to pass that through and make it to the President's desk. If not, we could be looking at a partial government shutdown come Friday, or come Saturday. So all eyes are watching that, and I think I don't have any insider knowledge or news other than what I've told you. So keep your ears and your eyes to your favorite news cycle or news information source, and I'm sure we'll all find out what happens between now and Friday. That stands the conclusion of my report for the Legislative Congressional Regulatory Update. I'll certainly stand for any questions and any comments you may have.
Grayson, thank you. Next up is item 7, Aerospace and Aviation Education Program Update. Stephanie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Commissioner Rainey, Chairman Rainey, and Commissioners. Good morning. Your education team has been very busy this month bringing the message of aerospace education across the state of Oklahoma. Since our last commission meeting, we have visited with school leaders in Skiatook, Tishomingo, Claremore, Welika, Cache, and Okemah public schools. It's now looking likely that we will end up with approximately 140 high school aviation aerospace programs for the coming school year, and every day we are still getting calls from school districts wanting to learn more about aero education and what that might look like in their district. So we're predicting 140, that's up from 117, but it could be more. So it's exciting to think about. 7B is Oklahoma City Thunder Aero Day. In partnership with ODAA, the Oklahoma City Thunder held their 3rd annual Thunder Aerospace Day on January 23rd at the Paycom Center. We had approximately 500 students who attended that event and got to hear from aerospace professionals and industry partners that morning. In the evening, they returned to the arena and got to attend the Thunder's game against the Dallas Mavericks. Unfortunately, the Thunder did not prevail that night, but this exciting event celebrates and brings awareness of Oklahoma's strong aerospace industry to the entire Thunder fan base that attends that event. It's always a really great event for our students. They love it, so they had a great day. 7B is submission of the FAA 625 grant. With Paula leading the charge, the ODAA team has submitted another FAA 625 grant application. This round of grants is specifically geared at aircraft pilot workforce development. Paula is not here to say this herself, but I know she would want to extend her thanks for the gracious assistance of Michelle Baziden in drafting the budget for the application, and to April Milway-Axton from the University of Oklahoma, who was also an active contributor and partner in the process of the grant application itself. With all the changes, obviously, that are occurring at the federal level, we don't know for sure if the grant program will continue to be funded. We're hopeful, but it has been submitted on behalf of the agency, and should we be fortunate enough to receive it, it will result in some really exciting and incredible opportunities for aero education in Oklahoma. Okay, 7D is the Flight Safety International Simulation Expo that we hosted in partnership with Flight Safety on February 10th and 11th. The event was held in Broken Arrow and was designed to increase awareness for our teachers of flight simulation and the engineering principles that are behind flight simulation techniques. 40 of our AOPA teachers attended and got to learn what the day-to-day operations of Flight Safety International look like. They heard from pilots, software developers, aerospace engineers, and members of the leadership team from Flight Safety who did a panel and talked about what all the different, and those are just a few of the careers that one could embark on just on that Broken Arrow campus alone. So teachers really got to hear a lot about career opportunities, which was very good for them. They got to also sit inside all of the $19 million up to $30 million simulators that are on the floor of Flight Safety, and they got to practice their simulation skills in those incredible pieces of equipment. To say that our teachers were in awe of this experience does not even, begin to express it. We received an email following the event by one of our teachers And he said, thank you to ODAA for continuing to provide the highest quality learning experiences for us. Teaching the AOPA aviation courses has truly been transformative for my career as an educator. I've gotten to see and do things with this program that I never would have imagined possible. The event at Flight Safety was absolutely incredible, and we are so thankful to you all for allowing this to happen. So, that was just one of many comments that we received from our educators who were literally blown away by that experience and opportunity. 7E, we just came off from a UAS professional development, another training for our teachers that was held in conjunction with Oklahoma State University and OAIR last weekend, March 7th and 8th. We brought in 40 teachers. This was a different group than the 40 that attended Flight Safety. They spent 2 days with the OSU OAIR team touring the OAIR facilities, working with Dr. Jamie Jacob, with Doug Wood, and the OSU engineering team to build and fly drones. Dr. Jacob, he is incredible and just a force to be reckoned with. And not only did he give his time in addressing that teacher group that was present there, but he took personal interest in touring them around the facilities. He even came back on Saturday morning and watched them fly their drones. So we are so appreciative of our partnership with OSU and particularly the OAIR group. And we have another exciting event planned coming up in April for our teachers with them. So you'll get to hear about that in our next meeting. Item 7F is the Bessie Coleman Aviation All-Stars program. Our Bessie Coleman program is happening this spring with 2 groups of 6th graders. There are 40 students in total from Ada City Schools and McAllister Public Schools. During their time as Aviation All-Stars, they have learned the parts of the airplane, they've learned about forces of flight, all kinds of things. They have heard from an American Airlines pilot. They've heard from an aircraft marshaller from Wiley Post. They've spoken with an FAA administrator from Washington, D.C. This week, they are touring their local airports and working with navigational charts, doing a scavenger hunt. They're doing all kinds of really fun things, and just that exposure and awareness of our industry is crucial for these younger students and gets them excited and thinking about the possibilities of what a high school aviation aerospace program might look like for them. As you know, item 7G is our Oklahoma Aviation Aerospace Students of the Month. We began that new program in January to honor and recognize some special students that are in our program across the state. Brady Earsom from Duncan High School is our February male Aerospace Student of the Month. Emery Turner from Cushing High School is our February Aerospace Student of the Month. And for the month of March, we have Kason C.J. Weeks representing Ketchum High School, and Brooklyn Black for March, who is representing Ada City Schools. These students have very strong academic resumes. They are leaders in their schools and communities. In addition to playing sports or participating in band or vocal music programs, they are also, first and foremost, aviation enthusiasts who are doing things like completing ground school in their spare time, which after I read some of this, you'll see I don't know how they have any spare time, but they are passing their FAA private pilot written exams, taking their solo cross-country flights, and just being of service to their aviation programs in their respective high schools. It is incredibly inspiring to read their nominations and to hear what they are accomplishing in their schools and communities. I just wanted to share from one of our nominations submitted by Brian McLean of Ketchum High School. He said of his student, Kason C.J. Weeks, for our March student, a pivotal moment, this is a quote from Brian, a pivotal moment in CJ's journey followed a visit to Nordam's aviation repair facility near Tulsa. Inspired by this experience, CJ committed himself to pursuing a career in aerospace engineering, a goal he has steadfastly pursued. In the fall of 2025, CJ will begin his studies at Oklahoma State University, majoring in aerospace engineering and pursuing a private pilot's license. Passionate about sports, CJ participates in basketball, football, and cross country, and has qualified in state for track and cross country the last 4 years. He also loves the arts and has been involved in show choir, state solo performances, and played a lead role in many school musicals. CJ also honors his school by singing the national anthem at every home basketball game, a role he performs with the same enthusiasm and excellence he brings to all his endeavors. You can see, I mean, these kids are truly amazing. And I could read something from all 4 of these bios, and you would be blown away. These kids are, you would be very proud of the teachers and students who are representing our programs. They are doing incredible things, and we are so happy to bring awareness and shine a light to our strong aviation aerospace high schools across Oklahoma and on these, particularly on these exemplary students. I stand for any questions.
Fantastic.
Go ahead.
You ready for item 8?
Yes.
Okay. The next order of business is item 8, Aerospace Education Tango Flight Grant Program Consent Docket. Commissioners may request that any or all items on a consent docket be considered individually. Stephanie, please continue.
Yes. We have 4 schools, school district leaders with us today who are, we are recommending to receive funding for the implementation of their Tango flight bills in their respective districts. Our first district here to speak to us today is Ada High School, and Superintendent Mike Anderson is here. I know also that our aviation teacher, Chris Eckler, is present, as well as Ada aviation leader, Bill Holland.
Chairman, thank you. Commissioners, thanks for having us. My purpose here today is, first of all, to answer any questions you may have, but second of all, I think most importantly is to say thank you, because we wouldn't be where we are today with our aviation program without your help. I'm the first to say it, that none of us, and I would probably think that you feel the same way, that we can't do this job alone. We build it through partnerships and relationships. I've been asked a lot of times what happens to this aviation program in Ada when you and Paula leave. Well, Paula has left, okay, as you well know, and I have announced my retirement as well. But it's sustained because of the guys standing behind me and the relationships we have with people like you. Chris Eckler is our aviation instructor. He is a leader across the country. He's well known all across the United States as an AOPA instructor. Bill Holland has been a partner of ours since day one. Community partnerships is what helped us get down the road on this. But Bill has volunteered his time. He has worked his way all the way through a board presidency of our aviation foundation, local foundation. He's now an owner-operator of a flight school in Ada and continues to help folks like Brooklyn, who you guys just recognized as a student of the month. Our future plans here, we jumped into this probably about a year ago, wasn't it, Chris, when we decided that we would renovate a couple of spaces at Ada High School to build a plane. And we were committed to that endeavor for a while. When I first announced to our Board of Education that we were going to enter into an aviation program, my vision was that we would have students flying airplanes before they left high school, and that certainly happened. I never imagined that we were going to build an airplane, but here we are. And I'm here to thank you for your consideration in offering us some assistance in that endeavor, in that Tango flight program, and I'm open to any questions that you guys may have.
I would just like to say, Mike, you've been instrumental from the beginning, and Ada set the bar very high, and all of you have been committed. So as you retire, I know it's in good hands, but many, many thanks for everything you've done.
Well, thank you. That goes both ways. This has been a win-win, obviously, and that's the best kind of partnership you can have. So thanks for your consideration. If you have any questions, I'd love for you to ask these guys questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
And Mike didn't get off easy in his last couple of months. You know, Ada was hit by that tornado. One of their schools was severely damaged. So we're so thankful that he's able to join us today with all that they've had going on in their district. Our second school that we are recommending for to receive funding to implement their Tango Flight build is Durant High School. And Durant is here today represented by Superintendent Mark Mooring.
Thank you all very much for having me today. I drove up from Durant about 2.5 hours just to express my appreciation for the opportunity at this Tango Flight Grant. I've had a lot of fun going around town and talking to Lions Club and Rotary and Kiwanis and Chamber about the opportunities that this could provide our students. So much so that my assistant, Katie, who gives great advice, told me, Mr. Mooring, you can't talk forever. You have to write your thoughts down, because I love this program and the opportunity it gives. It just so happens that we're building a new VOAG facility, and we're refurbishing our old one with a shop and a computer lab and everything for these students. So we've got the space and we've got the instructor, and it's just, I believe it's going to be a fabulous program for our students. The aviation program at Durant is growing, and we're proud to partner with you to include Tango Flight as the next piece in our aviation and aerospace pathway. We have an outstanding group of students that will begin constructing the airplane in the fall, and our new aviation lab space is currently undergoing renovations and updates, funded in part by your generous support through the Classroom Lab Development Grant. On behalf of our students, I thank you all for that. I'm also excited to announce that we are looking to offer AOPA Year 1 to our 8th grade students in August to get them in the pathway sooner and provide experiential and work-based learning opportunities for students in both the pilot or drone pathways during their junior and senior years. Our STEM director, Dr. Zach Morgan, is finalizing our aviation and aerospace pathway master plan. That plan includes integrating air traffic control simulation into the pathway for students seeking that career, and he is in discussions with Tulsa Community College to develop a pipeline to their ATCI program for interested and qualifying students. Finally, we are in the early stages also of forming a nonprofit foundation to raise the funds to endow flight training scholarships for our upper division students. Our aviation and aerospace program is taking flight in Durant, and many of the things we're doing would not be possible without your support. I want to thank you all for that. And what we strive to do in Durant is offer our students in southeastern Oklahoma the same opportunities of students across the state. And this is one step closer to that for our students. And I want to thank you guys very much for consideration for this Tango Flight Grant. So thank you. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I've answered all kinds of questions for Rotary, Kiwanis, Lions. It's just been fabulous getting to talk about opportunities like this for our students. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Mooring. Commissioners, our third school that we are recommending funding for the implementation of their VANS RV-12 Tango Flight build is Enid High School, and Enid is represented today by Assistant Superintendent Dr. Angela Rhodes. I didn't see our teacher, Jason Crowley, sitting there. Jason is an incredible educator from Enid High School who serves our aerospace program there.
Thank you, Commissioners. We are actually building a plane currently. Mr. Crowley is our phenomenal aviation teacher, and so I've only been at Enid now going on 3 years. And so when we started the program 3 years ago, Mr. Crowley said, wouldn't it be fun to build a plane? And I'm like, sure, let's do it. New to the district, not really worried about the funding piece just quite yet, even though I'd been a superintendent. I'm like, hey, wouldn't this be a great thing? But we had to make sure that everybody knew it wasn't going to be Enid Public Schools plane. We were building it for someone else to take on, and it's been a phenomenal program. And so we have already committed to the second plane. This would help us build a third plane. So in this process, we've had to build a building. Because it's just been a phenomenal partnership with the community and watching these kids grow and learn. So if you have questions, I'm going to turn it to the expert who's actually over the program. But again, we thank you for all your support throughout our building our aviation program.
For any questions? You're on the spot. No, it's right now we were pretty close to being done this year, but the road tax engine has caused a delay. So supposed to have that in January. Now it's, I got an email last week saying it should be shipped this day or that day. So we don't know. So I got to call Dan and get with him. That's what the holdup for this year is. But the goal is to have two at one time. I already have about 30 kids that are signed up for next year. So the issue is going to be trying to fit 2 planes in the building.
That's awesome.
But
Nice problem.
but you know what, in my, and being in the Army for 23 years, I never took no. I always found a way around no and made it happen. So there's ways to do it, but it's amazing to see these kids that everybody, like, most of them are sophomores that started, and then now have some juniors and some seniors, but from whenever someone asked, the kids are building it? Yeah, high school kids are building this. Are you gonna fly it? Yeah. Are you serious? Yeah, they're doing it. It's great to watch them every day.
Wow.
Amazing how they go out, every day they're working, every day when there's work to be done, so.
That's awesome.
Yes. All right.
Thank you. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Jason and Dr. Rhodes. Our final school for consideration is Norman Public Schools. We have Terry Adams, who's the director of the Oklahoma Aviation Academy, representing Norman Public Schools with us today.
Good morning. I want to begin by thanking you on behalf of Norman Public Schools and Dr. Nick Millerino, our superintendent, Dr. Christy Gray, who's our director of advanced programs. She'd be here today, but had a issue with her dad, taking care of her dad this morning. So, but I just want to say thanks. We've gotten multiple grants from this commission in the past. We've used those to buy flight simulators, to start and get our drone program going. This will be used to do our second plane. We too have already started a Tango flight build. We have 40 kids that are currently working on the plane, many of whom hadn't even picked up a tool prior to walking into the program. So really to see their progress and to see the things that they can learn in a short span of time has been very exciting for my instructor, Jeremy Ralston, and myself. We have the vertical and horizontal stabilizers built, the rudder, so they're just coming along and learning all the skills that go along with that. This grant would allow us to start our second build and double the amount of kids that we have in that program, so pushing up to 80 kids plus that will be working on building a plane. We too, a lot of exciting things going on in Norman as we try to build a comprehensive aviation, aerospace, and engineering program. We've broken ground on our facility that will be on the property of Max Westheimer, hopefully be ready by August of 2026. It allows all of our aviation programs, our Tango Flight, our pre-engineering program, our Civil Air Patrol Cadet program, as well as 20 regular classrooms that as kids spend all or most of their day with us learning about aviation and aerospace. So we've also started an aviation history class that has replaced world history for our sophomores. Very excited about that. Dr. Tyler Morton, a retired Air Force colonel, is writing that curriculum from scratch, and obviously a lot of history in both Norman and the state of Oklahoma for the students to learn about. So that's been an exciting piece of our curriculum as we move them through as well. So again, thank you for your support. I second what everybody said. We could not do it without the support of the state and this commission, and very appreciative of all of that we received from both you and Ms. Keedy and everybody else at the NRX Commission. And so a big thanks from Norman and the Oklahoma Aviation Academy.
Thanks, dear.
Any questions for me?
Good job.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Commissioners, we respectfully request your approval of funding for the Tango Flight implementation from the 4 school districts that you've heard from. Thank you.
Move approval.
We have a second.
A second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I might, I'd just like to make a comment, and I want to thank you, those that came up today, made the trip from wherever you're from, but and I don't speak very much, but I just would like to say thank you and to all the other programs, the other schools, the other leaders that are willing to take up and provide this opportunity for the kids of Oklahoma. You know, many of the kids wouldn't probably have either the interest or the opportunity to be involved. And I think the fact that you're willing to take that leadership up and present it to your children, to the students, and promote it, and just let them know that opportunities are out there for them beyond what they may experience every day. And I just want to tell you all and the other educators across the state, thank you very much for promoting this program. Thank you.
That's a good word. Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega?
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz?
Aye.
Chairman Rainey?
Aye.
Commissioner Hunter?
Motion passes. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Next is item 9, Airport Construction Grant Program Change Orders. Michelle, you're recognized.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. The first two items before you are going to be information only. We're just bringing you some details. The item A is going to be for El Reno Regional Runway Rehab Project. We have an amendment against that project to allow for line item adjustments. The funding is moved from construction to cover additional DBE services. The amendment does not increase the commission or the department's previously approved share. The next item is going to be for Elk City Regional. They have utility work there at the airport, and the amendment will allow for a line item adjustment. Funding was moved from administration to cover additional engineering services. The amendment, again, does not increase the department's previously approved share. So those are for information only. Finally, item C, we are bringing for your consideration. This is a project at Claremore Regional to construct a hangar there. The change order is necessary due to the fire marshal requirement that the rear wall be fire rated and to reconcile some necessary utility work. The estimated additional cost will be $49,510. Will be funded with $27,231 almost of federal funds, $19,804 of state funds, and $2,470, almost $6 of sponsor matching funds. So staff is recommending approval on this change order for item C. I will stand for any questions on that.
Do we have a motion to approve item 9C?
So moved.
Second.
A second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega?
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz?
Aye.
Chairman Rainey?
Aye.
Commissioner Hunter?
Aye.
Motion passes. The next order of business is item 10, 5-year airport construction program. Commissioners may request that any or all items on a consent docket be considered individually. Nick, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Hard to believe it's already March again, so here we are as we start to revamp and reload the airport construction program. So a few items that I'll have for you today, but to give you a little bit of background on how these projects come about. Just a brief overview. Throughout the spring and summer months, a lot of times myself and the team are out meeting with airports to discuss their 5-year capital improvement plans, CIPs. And as a result, come the fall time frame, they fill those out, send those in to us to review in the October time frame so that we can review and then get that to the FAA by their November 10th deadline, which is typically where it falls every year. And so all of those different meetings and conversations converge into those CIPs. We work with the FAA to make sure that the planning for the federal funds is all there and that there aren't any big red flags. And then from there, that's whenever we have these projects to come and get added and in some cases here modified. So obviously we'll have several items here to be presenting for you. This first one, though, is simply to amend the existing airport construction program and to add some projects that will likely be requesting either design fees or approval between now and the May timeframe. And so for these first rounds of projects, first up is Carnegie Municipal Airport that we are suggesting to add to the current edition of the ACP. This is for a 100 low lead fuel system to the tune of about $600,000 as part of our fuel program. That'll be partnered with about $270,000 of federal dollars and our 50/50 fuel program at $300,000 department share. And of course, as I go through these, I'm going to try to speed through several of them because I got about 75 slides for you guys, all said and done, but obviously very happy to talk about any of these in detail as needed. The second project that we're seeking to add would be at Clinton Regional Airport. This is for a 10-unit T hangar and a 60 by 60 box hangar for about $1.5 million total project cost. The department share 40% at $600,000 on that. And so this is kind of get them back to full capacity following the storms that came through there a couple of years ago. They had several hangars that were damaged and affected, and so this kind of gets them back to whole following the unfortunate event that we've seen at a couple of our airports here of late, unfortunately. At Fairview Municipal Airport, they are seeking 3 60 by 60 box hangars for about $1.3 million. The department share anticipated about $540,000 on that one. At Skiatook Municipal Airport, this would be to construct a 10-unit T hangar for about $1.2 million anticipated. In the 2026, the upcoming fiscal year, we'll do the design this fiscal year, and then the construction will roll into next fiscal year. This would be about $468,000 anticipated on the department share. Obviously, as we get into design, we'll have a better idea what that funding mechanism looks like. And at Thomas Municipal Airport, this would be to construct 2 box hangars out there as well. About a $1 million project cost with the department share at 40% at $400,000. And here at Tulsa Riverside Airport, this is a project that actually you might be a little bit familiar. It was previously in the airport construction program. Unfortunately, whenever we came to the time to get into the design of that, the FAA determined that the crosswind was no longer available or eligible for AIP funding. Their crosswind component doesn't meet the threshold for AIP dollars, unfortunately. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, the crosswind runway still needs to be addressed. It's not to a full 60-foot width on the entirety of the crosswind runway there. And honestly, it needs to be rehabilitated so that the students out there at Tulsa Riverside have that crosswind runway whenever the situation requires it. And I'm sure that those that have flown into Riverside understands the importance of that as well. And so what we are suggesting here, the Tulsa Airports Trust, they decided they were going to go ahead and try to fund this locally. It's anticipated about a $2 million project cost to address the runway and the lighting associated with it. And we are suggesting that we participate about the same level between previous state apportionment and department funds as it was in last year's CIP, to the tune of about $700,000 of department funds. The remainder of that, above and beyond that $2 million mark, would be local funded. And the last project here that we're seeking to add to the current edition of the ACP is an airfield optimization project at Max Westheimer Airport. This is their CDS funding that was approved in this past fiscal year. $36 million was what that was awarded at, but as we know, a big chunk of that went to the tower that we recently approved. So the remainder is about $29 million on that, for a total of about $30 million. And our portion on that would be half of the local match, which we anticipate that this will grant out in fiscal year 25 and 26 on the federal level. So that would be at a 5% match for the sponsor. So our portion would be half of that at 2.5%. It's about $730,000 anticipated on that. And so for that item, staff recommends approval on these projects into the current edition of the ACP, and I stand for any questions you may have.
Do we have a motion to approve item 10?
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega?
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz?
Aye.
Chairman Rainey?
Aye.
Commissioner Hunter?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is item 11, Airport Construction Grant Program Consent Docket. Commissioners may request that any or all items on a consent docket be considered individually. Nick, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For this next item, these are seeking approvals primarily for design phases. This first one, though, being an environmental assessment and the preliminary design at the new airport location for Atoka Municipal. This has actually been approved previously as a contract for the entirety of the amount via their appropriation. However, thankfully, we've had some good conversations with FAA, and they now seem to be on board with AIP FAA dollars being spent on this project. And so we've kind of got them the justifications that they were needing and requesting above and beyond what we had previously sent in. And so what we're seeking here, instead of a contract, would be an FAA grant that we partner with at the same $169,900. The FAA portion of that, $152,910, and out of their appropriation, bringing that number down to the basically a $16,990 total on that. And so, and on there it has a local share that's added in there. That's actually would be all covered by the department shares. We act on agent for them. And so again, that'll just be out of their appropriated dollars. So that's kind of why some of those numbers don't quite add up right there. Also, you'll see several of these projects that we just added to the ACP come up for design phase approval consideration. The first being the fuel project at Carnegie Municipal for their 100 low lead fuel, requesting the design phase fees of $73,400 with the department share of that $36,700, partnering with some FAA funds above and beyond for the full total. Then at Clinton Regional, also seeking to move into the design phase at a cost of $159,900, partnering with about $88,000 of FAA funds, the department share of that being $63,960 requested. At El Reno Regional, they are seeking, now that we've got over the hump of the terminal building, trying to move on to the box hangars that's been planned for this airport for quite some time. 130 by 90 box hangar for them. Design phase of that anticipated $125,700. The department share at $50,280 of that total. At Fairview, they're seeking their 3 box hangars that we just added to the current ACP. The design phase anticipated $116,400 for that project. The department share of that, $46,560. At Miami Regional Airport, we are seeking to approve the design fees for their upcoming discretionary FAA project. Total project cost on that's going to be $274,200 for the design phase, and that's to realign their parallel taxiway to current design standards, get the separations that they need, especially given the increased traffic that they've had out there over the past few years, and really exciting to see the growth that's been occurring out there as well. Okmulgee, they're seeking to move into the design phase of their terminal building project, to the tune of $289,300, requesting half of the, it's a 50-50 proposition, dollar for dollar match as our typical terminal building project. Now it is a possibility that they will partner some FAA funding with this, and as if they do use some of their entitlements or are able to use some of that funding, obviously the department share would come down accordingly, and at the end of the day we wouldn't request any more than the $1 million total project cost for construction and design on that. At Skiatook Municipal, this is for their 10-unit hangar. The design phase of that anticipated $148,750. Department share of that $59,500 for the T-unit hangar design. And at Thomas Municipal for their 2 box hangars, moving into the design phase of that to the tune of $110,000. The department share of that 40% at the $44,000 mark. And so staff recommends approval for these design and environmental projects, and I stand for any questions you may have.
We have a motion to approve item 11. We have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega?
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz?
Aye.
Chairman Rainey?
Aye.
Commissioner Hunter?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Nick. Next is item 12, Clinton Sherman Contract Approval Consent Docket. A reminder that any commissioner may request that any or all of these items be considered individually. Nick, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we move on with the, the last portion of the next iteration of the ACP, we're going to change gears here for Clinton Sherman for a couple of different items here. The first being considering approving staff to enter into some separate contracts or to amend some existing contracts at Clinton Sherman Airport as we continue to act as their agent to get their massive pavements rehabilitated, and also to plan out some of the general aviation and commercial areas as part of their airport layout plan as well. So the first amendment we're requesting is to the general aviation area supplemental survey. That's a amendment to a existing Garver contract. That'll be an additional $10,900 for that contract. We asked them to add a few things outside of what we anticipated the original scope to be, so that'll get us whole and be able to realize that full north general aviation area that we're trying to build out there. The second would be an amendment to the Delta contract for Phase 1 of the pavement rehabilitation, and this is for additional testing. As we'll hear a little bit more in the next item here, there's been some more quantities of full panel replacements that was anticipated for the first phase. So I had anticipated more spall repair and maybe partial panel replacements, but once they got into there, there were a lot more panels that actually needed replacing than was originally included on Phase 1. And so that's to get the additional testing as they continue to work on Phase 1 currently out there on the ground and the construction phase of that. And then we will be requesting an amendment to Lochner's contract to do a rehabilitation quantity analysis. So as we finish up Phase 1, we want to make sure that we get a third party out there. And of course, our engineers actually went out and did some preliminary views of the area already. But what this will help us do is get a better idea of the actual quantities that are necessary for the upcoming phases so that we can incorporate that into the plans and specs accordingly, and we don't wind up with the discrepancy that we wound up with on Phase 1. It's an unfortunate happenstance, but as we can probably imagine, all of the World War II pavement out there, it's honestly in really good shape for the most part, just has needed some love over time, and so now some of that deferred maintenance is showing up as we get digging into a little bit deeper, but we're confident that that'll give us a better quantity and a better idea of what the upcoming phases look like as we continue on out there. And then the first new contract would be with Park Hill. This is for a boundary survey and to update their airport property map. And so that's a part of kind of as we continue to reshape what things look out there, be able to update that property map accordingly, get their airport layout plan submitted to the FAA so that as we start to utilize FAA dollars that they're now eligible for, we have all the things in place so that FAA can easily send those dollars on rather than asking for additional items that they haven't completed yet. So that'll make them eligible for their FAA funding that they're now eligible for. So that contract will be for $133,600. And finally, the new contract for Lochner. This is for the final construction documents and bidding service activities for the remaining 3 pavement rehabilitation phases. Phase 1 is underway right now. Phase 2 has already been bidded out and will be they'll move on to that after they finish up Phase 1. And so 3 remaining phases to be bid out, and as they do the rehabilitation quantity analysis, that'll help them finalize these construction documents and the bidding system that we, as we bid out those next 3 phases. So building those plans and specs and getting everything ready for the bidding process, $175,000 total for all 3 phases. Staff recommends approval of these items, and I stand for any questions you have.
Do we have a motion to approve item 12?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, with a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega?
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz?
Aye.
Chairman Rainey?
Aye.
Commissioner Hunter?
Motion passes. Next is item 13, Clinton Sherman Pavement Rehab Phase 1 change order. Nick, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so we have a change order here to Phase 1. As I mentioned, some of the quantities were underestimated on the initial phase, and so here we're seeking a change order so that we can get those addressed, some of those issues addressed while they're still on the ground out there under the first phase. So the estimated additional cost for this change order would be $542,767.50. And this, I failed to mention it on the previous item, but of course, this would be utilizing OSIDA's prep funds for funding of this. Staff recommends approval, and I stand for any questions.
Do we have a motion to approve item 13?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, with the second, any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega?
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz?
Aye.
Chairman Rainey?
Aye.
Commissioner Hunter?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next order of business is item 14, fiscal year 2026-2030 5-year airport construction program. Nick, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And going back to the airport construction program, so this will be for the next iteration that will go into effect come July 1 as we move into our next fiscal year. So this will be through 2026 to 2030. So I will outline all of the additional projects that we're seeking to add to the next iteration of the ACP. I've also included any changes to what's already existing. As you know, we've kind of had these conversations with the FAA and with the airport sponsors. If something needed to move based on FAA funding availability or local funding availability, that's where most of these modifications come from. Again, if you have any questions on any of these as I go through, please stop me. I'd be happy to go into detail about any of them. But we have about 60 slides to go, so I'll try to speed through it and be as respectful of your time as possible. And then at the end of this, this wouldn't be for full approval. This would be to approve to move into a 30-day public comment period. And then we'd bring this back at the May Commission meeting for full approval as we get ready to move into the next fiscal year. So the first project here is going to be adding a rehabilitation of runway 1735 at Ardmore Municipal in the 2030 timeframe. This would be an FAA discretionary project that we anticipate at $5 million. The department share half the local match at $250,000. At Atoka Municipal Airport, this is to update the funding levels. Previously, we had basically the $6.25 million listed on here because FAA wasn't quite ready to show that they were on board yet. So we're adding in the $4.5 million here of FAA funding and the local match for that as well, as we look to go into the Phase 1 site prep and construction in about the 2027 timeframe if all goes well, maybe 28. But again, we're just going to try to move that as quickly as possible, but really we're just updating the funding levels to show the FAA funding on that one. At Boise City, we're seeking to add the construction of a terminal building project to the ACP, and this is per the airport's CIP that they turned in. Looking at the 2027 timeframe, I used the numbers that they provided on their the CIP, so this is $891,946. The department's share of that they're currently requesting is $250,000, but that'll be to the tune of a one-for-one local match, just like it would for any other terminal building project. At Chandler Municipal Airport, this is a project to construct perimeter fencing in probably the 2025 or 2026 timeframe. There's a couple of projects that we'll see where things line up. This is going to be a state project as we work with a couple of our engineers in the state to come up with a state spec on some fencing, because what we've seen is if you try to use FAA funding on a fence project, you're going to spend about $80 a linear foot on that. And it's quite extreme. I know whenever I was rebuilding more after a tornado, our linear foot price was $8. And so what we're trying to do is find the best, most economical way to construct fencing at the areas that need them, but to do it the right way and to try to minimize that cost as much as possible. Also at Chandler Municipal Airport, they are seeking to construct a terminal building in the 2027 timeframe. I anticipate it to be about a $1 million project, a little bit more scaled back, kind of like Boise City. But again, that'll be a one-for-one dollar match, up to $1 million if they were able to kind of find the way to get up to that. But I think that $1 million will get them what they need out there. And lastly, at Chandler Municipal, we're seeking to slide this project up by 2 years. We're hoping to partner this with a lengthening project. There's some turnpike construction that will modify just how far Chandler's going to be able to utilize their runway. So in addition to these other projects, we're looking to rehabilitate the runway during that same lengthening process to get them the length that they need, while also getting the turnpike the route that they need as well. At Chickasha Municipal Airport, they're seeking to add a box hangar to the airport construction program for about $1.6 million anticipated. Partnering with some FAA funds there, the department share would be about $651,000 anticipated for that. Also at Chickasha, they're looking to construct a terminal building somewhere in that same time frame for about $2.5 million. The department share one-for-one local dollar match, just like we would for any other terminal building, up to $1 million. At Claremore Regional Airport, we're seeking to rehabilitate their parallel taxiway. Really all we're doing here is updating the funding levels based on the preliminary engineering report that we just finished up here not too long ago. So based on that report and the engineer's estimated probable costs, $4.1 million total, where the department share would be half the local match at $205,000 on that FAA project. Also at Claremore, looking to do a terminal area study out there in about the 28-29 time frame for about $150,000. They are seeking to acquire some land just south of their current hangar development area to build out further south. You can kind of see all the, on that east side of the airport there, everything just kind of ends about a quarter way up the runway there. And so they're seeking to acquire that land that they don't currently own there and then expand their hangar development area south from there. It'll be a 95-5 proposition with the department share at $142,500 estimated. And Claremore would also like to build a terminal building. They're anticipating that in about the 2030 timeframe at a total cost of about $3.5 million with the department share at $1 million anticipated. Seeking to add a project at CE Page to rehabilitate their runway 17 right, 35 left, as well as their edge lights in the 2028 timeframe. It's be an FAA project, about $1.6 million, in which we participate at half the local match at approximately $81,000. But of course, as we move into design, we'll get a better idea of what those costs look like. At Elk City Regional Business Airport, they're seeking to install a Jet A fuel system. So that'll relocate their existing and expand their capacity. And that's where their current system is, kind of limits the aircraft movement on the apron. So they're looking to relocate that, get that further back, and then pipe it over to where they could still utilize that as needed. And then, of course, that'll help out their med-flight area as well. The total department share would be no higher than $500,000. But since it's a little bit more intricate of a project than what we're normally seeing, that total of 1.3 is a little higher than what we're seeing at a lot of other locations. But of course, as they get into the design of that, they're going to have to meet the FAA justification requirements as they utilize FAA funding as well. And of course, we'll make sure that we are right-sizing that as best we can as we move along on that as well. I just know that's going to be a little bit more intricate of a project than most of our fuel systems have been to this point. At Enid Woodring Regional Airport, they're looking to construct some box hangars. $2.5 million total project cost, and they also will be partnering their local funds with a commerce grant, public-private partnership grant, and of course that's to kind of give them a good area to, and these will be interconnected box hangars to take place where some previous port hangars were, and really maximize the area that they have over there and be able to increase their capacity given the great things going out in Enid. The department share that anticipated at $1 million. At Grove Regional Airport, we're seeking to add this project to the rehabilitate the East Parallel Taxiway for the pavement and the lighting. This will be an FAA project, $1.67 million. Department share half the local match, $83,500 in that 2029 timeframe. Also, about that same time frame, they're seeking to construct a 100 by 75 box hangar for about $1.4 million. They had previously wanted to take advantage of the hangar program, but ran into some water capacity issues out there. And so they've been working on that locally to get their utilities fixed up and then anticipate in the 28-29 year time frame, they'll be ready to move forward with that. The department share at 40% as part of the hangar grant program. At Guthrie Edmond Regional, this is to slide up their project for the construction of the terminal building. And I think it'll be probably fiscal year 26 if I had to guess. But calendar year 25 is early to start the design. $4.5 million total project cost utilizing some of their CDS, Congressionally Designated Spending funding that is anticipated. And the department share would be half of, dollar for dollar, anticipating up to about $500,000 at this point. Also at Guthrie, updating the estimated costs on their construct new taxi lane project, anticipating about $2.5 million on that. We are suggesting that we participate a little bit above and beyond, partner a state grant with the FAA grant for department share, anticipated at $900,000, and that's so that we can get this completed in one phase rather than having to phase it out. At Guyman Municipal Airport, we're seeking to add a taxiway, lighting, fillet, and beacon rehabilitation project to the ACP. It'll be a total project cost of $2 million, and the department share at half the local match, anticipated at $100,000. At Halliburton Field in Duncan, seeking to construct 3 box hangars out there for about just shy of $1.6 million. And in 2025, they'll start the design on that and look to construct, roll right into construction on that. Department share 40% at $636,000 anticipated currently. Also at Halliburton Field, they're seeking to install a 100 low lead fuel system in the 2028 timeframe. About $769,000 anticipated. Again, 50-50 proposition as part of our fuel program at $384,650 anticipated currently. At Hinton Municipal Airport, seeking to add a crack seal and seal coat of a runway project in the upcoming year. Upcoming fiscal year, start design and potentially construct even in this fall if we're able to get it through that fast. They're kind of waiting to see on the engineer's design as they get that ramped up right now. But anticipated to be a standard crack seal and seal coat project at about $300,000. State 95.5 project with the department's $285,000. And this is primarily to get us to this next project, the rehabilitation of the runway in the 2030 timeframe for an FAA project anticipated about $2.5 million, and that more than likely will include an overlay, get a little bit more life out of that as we work through the PCI numbers that we've seen in our inspections, and utilize the knowledge of our airport engineers to make sure that we're sliding these projects to the right place to maximize the pavement life. Department share anticipated about $125,000 on that one. At Hobart Regional Airport, we're seeking to slide back their rehabilitation of their runway to the 2028 timeframe. This is a FAA project in which we'd participate in half the local match at $200,000 of that $200,000 of that $4 million project that's anticipated in the 2028 year timeframe. Hollis Municipal Airport is seeking a fuel system as well. Utilizing some FAA funds on that one to maximize what they're able to utilize their entitlements on. Total project cost $600,000 with the department share anticipated at $300,000 on that. A couple of projects at Muskogee. The first is updating the numbers for the rehabilitation of the runway. That's an FAA project coming down the pike to the tune of about $5.8 million. And so updating these numbers based on the preliminary engineering report so that we have a little bit better idea what that's going to come out whenever the bids actually come in. The departments share that, anticipate about $145,000, $150,000 at this point. And Muskogee would also like to construct a 14-bay T hangar to the tune of about $1.9 million. The department share that, they're requesting $788,000, partnering with a little bit over $1 million of their FAA funding. And at Muskogee, this would be to rehabilitate some of the taxi lanes around there. So that pavement we actually just got to take a look at that here about a month or two ago. And so as they look to kind of replace the very dilapidated, very old hangar that frankly I wouldn't want an aircraft in if I owned one. So really this is just to restore the capacity that they previously had as they, much like everybody else, have a very long hangar waiting list. That project, about a $1.28 million project at 95.5. The department share that being $1.2 million, and that's probably about the 2026, 2027 timeframe. At Pauls Valley Municipal Airport, we are adding some, we had a project that we were seeking to slide back, and so we're trying to maximize the FAA dollars that are going into this project to reconstruct runway 1735 at Pauls Valley, and also to fix some standards issues, primarily the non-90-degree connector there at the very north end. And then we'll see what FAA suggests and what we're having to do with some of the non-standard connectors there at the, a little bit further south there as well. But we know that the hump that we found here within this past year and a half, 2 years, that was brought to our attention, really affecting jet traffic out there. Whenever you're not quite to your rotate speed and you get a little speed bump, I'm sure that it's not the greatest feeling in the world as you're trying to pilot that plane and you can't quite get it off the ground, but the ground's trying to push you up. So I know that the director got to experience that firsthand, and so we've confirmed that that is something that we've done everything that we could to expedite this project, and so now we're trying to do everything we can to keep this a one-phase project rather than two. I anticipated a department share that's about $204,000 currently. At Robert S. Kerr Airport, we're seeking to add a construction of box hangars to the ACP to about $1.1 million. Partnering with about $605,000 of FAA funding, the department share would be $440,000 on that one. Also at Podo, we are seeking to extend the runway What we're trying to do here is just slide this back a couple of years. We were trying to partner this with their rehabilitation project, but the FAA was able to get that rolling a little bit sooner than anticipated in the fiscal year 2024 timeframe. So I think they just completed that project. If I am not mistaken, last time I was out there, all they had left to do was stripe it. And so this would be to extend their runway and taxiway out to a full 5,000 feet. And so much like some of our other projects, I think we're still working through the final justification with FAA on that. And then once we get the go-ahead from them, we'll be able to have a better picture of where exactly that's going to slide and factor into the ACP, but we're anticipating that in about the 2027 timeframe at this point. At Sallisaw Municipal Airport, we're updating the numbers based on their preliminary engineering report and also sliding this up to the 2025 fiscal year. And mainly we're trying to do is get this prepared if the FAA does have additional discretionary funding in their program in the fiscal year 2025 timeframe. We like to have shovel-ready projects ready to go so that Oklahoma can utilize those additional discretionary dollars and make sure that we keep as much in the state rather than going to other places across the U.S. Because we know that we can put it to good use here in our system. And then, of course, if that doesn't go through, then it's ready to be slated. It'll be ready to go in its 2026 timeframe where it is currently. But basically, all we're doing is seeking to slide this up just in case the discretionary funding is ready to go sooner rather than later. And those numbers updated to about a $3 million project cost, with the department share anticipated at $75,000. They're also looking to construct a terminal building in the 2030 timeframe to the tune of about $2.5 million. We're looking to slide this back 2 years. It was in 2028. They're looking to slide that back a little bit further to make sure that they have the funding on their end to get the full terminal building they're needing. So instead of 28, we're just looking to slide that back to about the 2030 timeframe. Anticipated department costs on that's going to be our full $1 million, the remainder being the local. Another terminal building being requested in Seminole Municipal, and this is already in the ACP, but we're just seeking to move this up from 2027 to the 2026 timeframe. About $2.9 million anticipated. The department share on that hasn't changed from what it is currently in the ACP at $1 million. All we really updated on that was the FAA funding and just kind of tidied up what actual funding they anticipate having at that time. A slew of projects at Shawnee Regional, as we're acting as agent to help them through their FEMA process. Please keep in mind that some of these numbers might change depending on how the FEMA conversation goes, but I think this will give us a clear picture of what the overall project costs are looking like and how that will partner with some of their appropriated dollars that they've had as well. So a mixture of FAA funding, FEMA funding, and local funding, and here and there some department funding as well. But I'll do my best to kind of highlight the department funding and then go from there. But just please keep in mind that you might see these numbers change as we actually get some of these off the ground. The first project we're seeking to add to the ACP is the rehabilitation of their taxi lane and apron. It's about a $330,000 total project cost anticipated. At the department share of that, $314,000. Here with the construction of the T-hanger taxi lane, that's kind of this would be built on the southwest area of that blue taxi lane on here. Sorry I wasn't able to have a better picture of it for you, but I'll make sure that if we can get one, I'll put it in the ACP and update that for May. But that's to build out a new T-hanger area, because where that green box there that you see on the east side of that blue taxiway, reconstructing their T-hangers that got demolished would no longer meet current FAA standards. And so we are anticipating kind of reallocating that area to probably be some interconnected box hangers on down the road and switching the T-hangers to the other side so that we can actually get the separations that are needed. It's anticipated about a $1.8 million project cost, in which the department share currently being requested at $775,000. But again, we'll see what those numbers continue to look up as we continue down that road. And then to construct the two T-hanger buildings that would go on those taxi lanes, that'd be a part of our normal hangar program, $2.2 million project, the department share at $880,000. Just looking to slide this back a year and then updated the numbers based on the current market rates. Then for the southeast hangar development area, this would be to construct a taxi lane for that at $2.7 million. The department share of that's requested $2.59 million on that. And again, this will remain to see how this partners with their appropriated dollars and exactly what these look like, but you'll see how all these projects kind of connect to each other as I continue to go through. We're seeking to add that in this upcoming fiscal year. Also for this upcoming fiscal year, a more standard project out there for Shawnee. This will be to rehabilitate their PAPIs. They've had tons of issues with those. And this will also upgrade them from incandescent to LED. Those incandescent bulbs are getting harder and harder to find and more expensive as you try to maintain those. So given the amount of times that those are going out, we're looking to replace those. Anticipated about a $300,000 project. The department share being 95.5 grant, about that $282,000, $283,000 mark. Again, I like to use the numbers that the engineers give me, so normally I'd round that up, but I don't like to speak for engineers because they're the ones with the numbers behind their name, or letters behind their name. Also at Shawnee, this would be the reconstruction of their terminal building. Total project cost anticipated at $3.8 million. Department share would be no more than $1 million normally. And obviously, this is probably the biggest item that we're waiting to hear back on FEMA with, and so we're seeing and trying to maximize the FEMA dollar, of course, so that we can get them back to as whole as possibly can following the tornadoes they've experienced. And then adding to the ACP following that project, on the heels of it, a $830,000-ish 95.5 state grant to construct out their terminal parking lot. And then getting into some of the southeast hangar development area. This is the primary area that was where the appropriated dollars are designated for Shawnee Regional. And that's to kind of provide a good separation between the smaller GA aircraft and some of the larger corporate and business jets and the businesses that are operating on the field, so that they can have the room to fully maximize and do what their business plan calls for. So this is about a $5.7 million project in the 2027 timeframe to construct the hangar there in the southeast area. And so this is kind of the phase one of the Southeast Development Project, and so we're seeking to add that to the ACP. And then also the hangar apron for a tune of $1.2 million. The department share about $1.19 million on that. And again, this is kind of to open up that full area down there and partner with those appropriated dollars as well. Then to construct the southeast roads and utilities, that's about a $1.65 million project. With 1.56 being requested from the department, again in that 2027 time frame. And the last at Shawnee, this would be to install a fuel farm and increase their capacity there. Total project cost on that for both systems, Hunter Low Lead and Jet A, about $1.4 million. The department share 50-50 proposition for our fuel program at about $712,000 as anticipated currently. Moving on to Skyatook, they're looking to construct a T-hangar apron around where the T-hangars they're planning for. Make sure that they have the pavement to support that out there at a 95.5. The total project cost about $880,000 anticipated. It was about $840 being requested from the department. South Grand Lake, we're seeking to slide back their rehabilitation and extension of the runway 2 years, and this is so that we can continue to partner that with the road project, which has experienced a little bit more delay than what was initially anticipated, but basically as soon as they get that squared away at the local level, we'll know where that falls, but still anticipating about a $500,000 project on that to get them to their full $5,000, or 5,000 feet of runway, and then that'll rehabilitate the remainder of the runway as well. Department share of that $475,000 anticipated. At Stigler, they're seeking to construct some box hangars, up to 3, I believe, is what they're aiming for. Total project cost about $1.8 million on that, with $1 million coming from the FAA and about $690,000 requested from the department. Also at Stigler, we're updating our costs based off the latest CIP that they have provided to us for their 2028 project to construct their parallel taxiway. This is about a $4 million FAA discretionary project in which we'd participate at half the local match at $200,000. Sulphur Municipal Airport, we're just sliding this hangar project in Sulphur that currently is in the ACP back 2 years to 2026. Total estimated project cost about $450,000 for those two 50 by 50 box hangars. The department share being requested $180,000 currently. A couple of projects at Tulsa Riverside we're seeking to add. The first would be the construction of a terminal building. This would get their airport manager and some of their offices that they have in a current maintenance facility into a better location where it's a little bit more publicly accessible. And that will also open up that north area to potentially be some additional hangar development area as well. And as we know, Riverside is very constrained. And so this would help to kind of maximize the amount of hangar space that they can actually have out there on Riverside. Anticipated about a $3.1 million total project cost in which we participate up to our $1 million terminal building project maximum. And as I alluded to, we'd be looking, once they do move that facility, this is where the current maintenance building exists today. And so once that's gone and they've got the new terminal building, we'd be looking to reconstruct some taxi lanes over here so that they can maximize their hangar development area up there. That'd be a 95.5 state grant proposition. The department share $855,000 of the $900,000 total. At Veneta, we're just looking to slide this project back 1 year, and basically that'll align better with their federal funding as what they determined on their CIP. And all the project costs still remaining the same. Department share hasn't changed from the currently anticipated $34,250. At West Woodward Regional Airport, this is to a project that we're seeking to add to the ACP in the 2028 timeframe to reconstruct their north apron. This is an FAA project in which about a $2.6 million project in which the department participates in half the local match, about $130,000 currently, based on current estimates. A couple of projects we're seeking to add at Wiley Post. The first would be to construct 6 box hangars out there for about $3.5 million. The department share being requested $1.4 million on that project, and that would be in this upcoming year. Then also at Wiley Post in the 2030 timeframe, seeking a runway 17 left, 35 right. Oh, sorry. There we go. To rehabilitate that runway, the PAPIs and the edge lights out there. An FAA project in which they're anticipating a $2.3 million project. They've requested a little bit less than what our normal half the local match would be. I think they're just going above and beyond on the local level there, but the current requested amount there that will get ironed out in the design, anticipated currently at $104,000. Coming up on the home stretch here, William R. Pogue Municipal Airport. We just updated the costs on the taxiway rehab and reconfiguration out there based off of their latest capital improvement plan. About $2.7 million total anticipated in the 2028 timeframe. The department share at $136 estimated currently. Also there at Pogue, rehabilitating the runway in the 2030 timeframe. $4 million project anticipated with the department share being half the local match at $200,000. And last but not least, the one that we see pretty much every year. This is our slide to continue with our development of the preliminary engineering reports. This is where we use some state apportionment FAA dollars to do our preliminary engineering reports and design to get the a better idea of what the project costs are coming well in advance of that discretionary, which is typically a large big rock project. Getting those estimates ironed out well in advance as best as we can so that we're better programming those dollars and not coming up with sticker shock as soon as the bids come in. So we're asking for our standard total of $500,000 in which the department's local share would be $50,000 on that one. So with that, staff recommends approval of putting these into the new iteration of the 2026 to 2030 airport construction program, and so that we can move into the public comment phase in order to provide you a full update and approval for it in the May timeframe. Thank you.
Any questions?
At the Riverside Airport, the couple of projects you were talking about, so
Yes.
they're wanting to do away with the current maintenance facility there and move it down the way a bit, move it to the south. to
Yeah,
its
so
new position.
I think that pretty much, yes.
So the maintenance, the land that's the maintenance facilities on right now, is it just going to go back to potentially being private hangars?
Exactly. So
Okay.
that's where we're hoping to build out some new taxi lanes so that we can construct additional hangars
I got you.
out in that
Okay.
area.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Of course.
Any others? Do we have a motion to approve item 14?
I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Ortega?
Aye.
Commissioner Ritz?
Aye.
Chairman Rainey?
Aye.
Commissioner Hunter?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Nick. Next is item 15, Progressing Rural Economic Prosperity Prep Fund Update. Grayson, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, congratulations, Nick. Record time, I think. Prep fund update, as we do every meeting, talk about the $100 million in prep funds that the agency has received. The 4 major projects. Tulsa Tire is going vertical. I don't know how high it is right now, but when I was out there about a month ago, they had at least one panel section up, which I think is 2-story. I think they have panel sections in 2-story increments. So I know it's at least 2 stories high about a month ago. So they're going vertical. The Ardmore Airport Taxiway Echo project is getting close to being wrapped up. I think they, if not for the little minor tornado damage they had down there earlier this week, or it may have been last week. Yeah, definitely last week. I think they're getting close to wrapping up the Echo project. Woodward, as you've heard in some of the presentations today, the terminal building, the hangar, the utilities are currently under construction. Hopefully have a celebration for those projects here before the end of the year. And then last but not least, if you've been out to Will Rogers and taken a flight, you've seen vertical steel going up at the AAR hangar for their 80,000 square foot facility. So things are happening. As of the end of January, we had $19 million spent, an additional $58 million encumbered and obligated. So you do the math there. We are well on our way to finishing off that $100 million pot of money. I think based on the presentations we gave during our budgetary discussions in January and February at the Capitol, I think the legislature was fairly pleased as to seeing where we're at in our progressing of the progressive prep funds. So things are moving forward, and obviously we've got a lot of hangars going up around the state of Oklahoma. Certainly stand for any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you, Grayson.
Thank you.
Next is item 16, preview of upcoming aviation and aerospace events. Michelle, you're recognized.
Yes, I'm Sandra today. Okay, we just have a few items here. This coming Saturday, March 15th in Durant, they are hosting Airplanes and Coffee. Also on Saturday, TASM, Tulsa Air and Space Museum, has their Stang Thang 25, if anyone's interested in checking that out. Then Saturday, March 22nd, from 8 to 11, Sundance is hosting the EAA Pancake Breakfast. And also that Saturday, March 22nd, Cushing has their fly-in from 9 to 4. Finally, on Wednesday, April 2nd, we will be at the Capitol Aero Day. I know Sandra would love to have all of you there. Just let us know so we can get you down. If you're interested in dignitary visits, if you just want to show up at 10 for the presentation, we will be there all day. We'll put you to work real early. That is the list of items I've got. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Next, we have item 17, financial report. Chris.
You can do it. Morning, Commissioners. Thanks for your flexibility. This is meeting number 3 for the morning, so it's been a busy morning. Hopefully, Nick got you warmed up looking at dollar figures for the morning, and we'll wrap it up with the financial report here. Starting out with the financial summary document, as of the end of February, the department had an ending cash balance of $31.3 million. Encumbrances totaled $26.9. Leaves us with an unencumbered cash balance of about $4.4 million. You may recall that's substantially higher than the number as of the end of December. It's due to our record excise tax collection that we had in December for the most part. I think probably with the amount of projects that you all graded out this morning, that number will tick back down pretty quick. Estimated statutory revenue for the remainder of FY25 is $7 million. Outstanding reimbursements owed to the agency total $2.8. And the total amount of remaining expenditures that could be incurred this fiscal year is $17.8, with the bulk of that being airport construction grants, provided that those are approved and executed for the end of the fiscal year. This would leave us with an available cash balance of negative $3.4 million if all that were to occur. As I say every month like a broken record, that's not going to happen, but it goes to show that as we're getting the appropriations, extra increased revenue, monthly collections, we're turning that around, putting it back into projects with Nick and his team. Total fiscal year-to-date expenditures out of our general appropriation and revolving funds was $4.8 million as of the end of February. That compares to $4.9 million for the same time frame last year, so quite a bit higher again. Moving on to revenue. Total revenue for the month of January was $1.86 million, and February was $1.8 million. Total revenue collected through February this fiscal year is $11.3, and that does compare to $6.8 million last year, so we're still up about 60% year over year. And finally, for the 3-year average revenue, our revenue collected this fiscal year is currently about $3.3 million more than our 3-year average, so we're still sitting pretty on a revenue perspective. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Thank you, Chris. Next, we have item 18, Director's Report. Grayson, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you can see by the Director's Report, it is legislative reception time of the year. So Sandra and I attended many of these, as did Chris, but we'll go over some of them. I'm not sure I'll hit every single one of them because it was a little bit of a rinse and repeat. But the Oklahoma City Chamber had 2 different legislative events. One was a lunch and one was an evening. The lunch was on the 22nd. The evening was on February the 4th. Obviously, opportunity for the Chamber to bring the lawmakers of the state together and show the Oklahoma City Chamber's perspective. Obviously, followed that on with the State Chamber in their legislative reception on February 11th. Again, similar proposition. The ODAA legislative reception, it was a new location. Typically, we do it up here at 50th and Lincoln at the ACOG building. But here we had it at Innovation Hall. So I don't know if you've seen the building there just east of I-235, just north of 4th Street over there by the Ham Institute, and a beautiful building that's gone up there. And so they had the reception. It was actually kind of like a pre-screening because the facility wasn't actually open yet, but we had the reception there in their grand hall. It was a great opportunity with our friends from the Defense Industry Association. On February 18th, I, as well as only a handful of others, braved the icy roads and came to downtown Oklahoma City for the Leadership Oklahoma Spring Summit. Every spring, Leadership Oklahoma has a different topic that they talk about. This year, it was transportation and infrastructure. I was on the planning committee, which is why I was coming regardless whether rain nor snow nor shine in that event. But I got put in at the last minute because their 2 moderators for the panels that we had crafted weren't able to make it. Both moderators lived, I think one in Northwest Oklahoma and the other in Northeast Oklahoma. So I put me in, coach. I was ready to play. I moderated a panel between myself, James Grimsley, and a gentleman from Honda Motor Corporation. And it's a great discussion. All the discussion that day was great discussion. Just wish we had a few more attendees given the snow and the impact it had. On the 20th to the 21st of February, our friends at the Defense Industry Association as well as Department of Commerce hosted in partnership with the Bomber Director at Tinker Air Force Base a small business summit, encouraging more small businesses to be able to tap into some of the contracts and offerings that the Bomber Directorate puts out every single year. It was a good conference. I hope that we will have significant millions of dollars of new contracts coming to Oklahoma companies out of that because of interested parties that want to now play in the DoD sphere. Excuse me. And then last but not least, on February 24th and 25th, the team and myself went to the Southwest Region FAA Airports Partnership Conference. Pretty much the entire airports team was there. I spoke in the state directors panel. I will say that unfortunately, because of the OU and OSU football teams, Oklahoma was ganged up on during the panel. Both from Texas, Louisiana, even New Mexico decided to hop in on the gigging of Oklahoma in our football opportunities. So hope our teams do better next football cycle. But it was a good opportunity to talk about airports. And I will say that FAA, I know it's a different world out there right now in the federal government. I know there's a lot of people on pins and needles, but our FAA friends are doing the business of aviation safety every single day very well. And I know our friends in the airports group who we work with every single day are continuing to invest in infrastructure every single day and are doing it as best they can, even withstanding all the changes that are ongoing across the federal government. So that stands my director's report. I think it'll be a little less legislative-y next meeting in May, but obviously it's just this time of year, January, February. Everybody has their receptions. So certainly stand for any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Grayson.
Thank you.
Now we have item 19, concluding remarks. Are there any additional comments from staff or commissioners? Hearing none, we'll move to next item, item 20, announcement of next meeting. Our next scheduled special meeting will be at 9 a.m. on Wednesday, May 14th, 2025, here in the first floor conference room at the Oklahoma Department of Transportation. Next up, item 21, Director, is there any new business? Hearing none, we'll move to adjournment. Item 22, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I declare this meeting adjourned. We'll see you in May.